Let's talk about surviving while you're in a really dark place and you can't necessarily find your way out. Now, there's content all over the internet talking about, you know, being a better man and essentially anything that you have a problem with or that you want to learn, you can learn. There's a video for it. There's somebody out there who's making a video every day about it, who's essentially made it their focal point in life, And for this in particular, I mean, perhaps I just haven't been open to it, but I don't see a lot of people really talking from that dark place. Everybody that I see is really like they're in a different space, They've either come out of it and they're so far removed from it that they're just talking, they're just talking about what they learned. And at times I'll do that, talk about things that I've learned in other negative experiences. But there's times like this where I really want to dive in and I want to get really vulnerable with whoever is on the other side of this, watching this, whoever finds this, and talk about what it's like to try to survive while you're really in it, while you're in the thick of it. And for me, because I'll use me as an example, and I'll be an open book because not a lot of people want to do that. I'll be a real open book, not just tell you that my life is amazing and I'm doing all of this or all of that, because that's not the case at all. Although I'm getting better, and every day, in every way, I'm growing. But for me, I have had plenty of situations come up where forget trying to meditate or trying to take steps forward. I was just trying to live. I was just trying to make sure that the me who woke up is the me who goes to sleep, gives myself another chance to be alive. And I'm not saying that I've come to these spots purely because of external circumstances and I had no role to play. No, that's not the case at all. I understand a lot where I've made mistakes and where, I've put myself in a bad position. That's part of learning. Everybody has that. Where we potentially call it something else, or it potentially becomes, symptomatic of something deeper, is when these times are persistent, even beyond any type of, threat, real or perceived. Well, definitely real, but perceived threat. So for me, I've been in states where every day is a struggle not to end my life. And I've had that persist over the course of months at times. Like, seriously, months. And I've learned different things to like jolt myself out of it. But at the same time, I've come to realize that some of the tools that I've used to jolt myself out of it are completely destructive habits, and they were really horrible tendencies to anybody who is not experiencing what I'm experiencing. So for me, this is how I survive. And for other people potentially looking at me, it's, this person is insane. Like, why are they doing this? Why? And, when I look at it objectively, I can see their perspective where it's like, I've done a lot of wild things. And a lot of those wild things were done as a result of pain that I was experiencing and trying to survive with that, trying to operate and feel like I'm wanted in society and I'm valuable to others. And that feeling was just really hard to come by. And I know for people who deal with similar things to what I have dealt with and am dealing with, I know that we talk about things like, you know, what happened in our childhood. We have to find ways to move past it. You have to, you know, do the work and all of this. Well, this is what it's like to be in the midst of doing the work, for me anyways, because while I'm experiencing all of this, I'm learning all of this information about, you know, spirituality, about the law of one, about metaphysics, about healing. And I'm looking at everything in a whole new light, because I'm seeing that a lot of the situations that I encountered, that I beat myself up for years, they originated from someone, not me, because in a lot of situations I was young. So it originated from someone not being healed themselves and not knowing just how destructive their habits were, or how much of an impact their lack of an ability to properly demonstrate love would have. So here I am now, grown man in age, trying to figure out what it means to actually be a man in a world that doesn't afford you that kind of time. In a world that doesn't allow you to have freedom to really make mistakes. And don't get me wrong, you can make them, but there's no grace from the consequences. We don't afford that to ourselves. You have to go to some type of higher being for that, and then the institution set up teach you that that higher being is outside of yourself, not within you. And when I grow up and I'm learning what it really means to have that unconditional love within me, and I'm trying to say, oh, or I'm trying to get to a point where I can actually show that, and it just, it's devastating to feel unprepared for life and to be so overwhelmed by that unpreparedness that it seems like the best option is just to eject, perform some type of soul ejection, and freaking hope that you get the opportunity to start over. Hope that on the other side, there's more grace afforded there than what's afforded here. And obviously, if you study some of these things and look at near-death experiences and look at the journey of souls and where we were before we came here, the extended history, not just going back to things like Christ, or going back to things like Krishna, or going back to things like Buddha, or going even further back to things like being visited by certain individuals from above and assigning them a certain name and having DNA tampered with, going further back than that, before any of that, going to a point where we were singular in our state. We were one. And that's not to say that we are not one now, because we are, although the complexity of our individuated awareness is astounding. We're still one, we're still connected, and we're still all impacting each other. So you hope that you can find some way to give yourself grace here, even if you don't see it anywhere else. You fight to just get ahead. You fight to just make a connection, or at least I do. And it seems like for every 2 steps that you take towards getting better, towards going out on a limb and opening some of the walls that you built to keep people out, it seems like the moment people see you opening the walls without any regard or for the potential of how long those walls have been there, or why they were erected in the first place, people see open walls and choose to enter and just destroy the place and dip. And that's essentially what it feels like when you're trying not to judge anyone. You're not looking for a specific type of connection. You're just looking for a connection. You're looking to know that I can still do this. I can still be some type of a productive member of this society. I can still have some type of value here. And when you encounter situations that just make you feel like any progress that you made is moot, it's devastating. It's devastating. And what meditation is going to fix that? What meditation is going to, suddenly make it so that you're less intimidating to people when you're not trying to hurt anybody, like what meditation is going to make it so that instead of people just seeing you as some type of competition that they need to beat down or snuff out any ounce of confidence they sense in, they just allow you to be and find your fullest expression as you're allowing them. It's so easy to take that. For me, anyways, I got to a point where no matter what, I refuse to take anything from anybody, just because so many people had taken so much from me, and it got to the point where they took too much. I didn't have any more to give. And then at that point, nobody cares because you don't have anything that they want anymore. So I said, I'm going to be different. I'm not going to take. I'm only going to give. But there's no balance in that. And the law of compensation states that you have to be open to receive. You have to. It's part of the law to cut yourself off. It's essentially, it's like if you were only exhaling, at some point you'd run out of air. You have to inhale. Without an inhale, there can be no exhale. Without reception, you have nothing to give. And it goes the same way. If you only inhale, at some point, you expand to a point where you can't hold it in anymore. You have to expand outward, and thus the exhale begins. So if you're taking and taking, there comes a point where you can't take anymore. And we have people who just collect things because, you know, maybe they're takers or maybe they enjoy holding on to things. We call them hoarders. We've seen some of the worst situations of those, but we've all been in states of being, you know, takers. And I tried to go the polar opposite way. Not to say that I'm better. I'm not. That's not what I'm saying at all. And I hope that the whole tone of this video points out that I'm not trying to elevate myself above any of you. I'm not. I'm literally telling you right now, as I'm in a state where I'm just fighting back thoughts of trying to harm myself, you know? I'm trying to talk to you about what thoughts go through my mind that help me to not do that, even though I'm dealing with these thoughts so regularly that it almost feels like a inevitability that it'll happen. It's just more of a matter of when. So keeping it raw and keeping it 100 with you, if that's what I see, what I want to do is make sure that I bust my ass to get this message out so that when you see somebody who's like me, who had something for you all, and wanted to share the gift that they had with you, but couldn't find a medium, couldn't find a connection, couldn't find an outlet, couldn't find a mentor, couldn't find a friend. When you see that person, because you will, if you see this video, you're seeing it because you will, because someone else will show up in your reality, in your world, in your life, and you will have that opportunity. When you see them, it's not that you need to break your back to freaking save them from their problems. No. Can you be a friend? Can you not rush to assume that this person, broken as they are, is just dangerous to you? Can you give someone space to learn? Can you give someone the space to live? I know some of the topics I talked about have been a little morbid, and I don't want to scare any of my viewers with anything that I talk about in my videos. I don't. This isn't that. And I'm not looking for your sympathy. I'm not looking for anything like that. This isn't that either. Listen to the things that I've talked about, the things that I've said that I'm studying, the things that changed my perspective, things like the law of one. Things like looking at a deeper law of assumption. Things like, as I talk about in other videos, the book Reality Transurfing by Vadim Zeland, which is like a breakdown about how we can navigate this alternative space as it's described by Joe Dispenza. Or the ether as it's talked about by Terrence Howard. Other thinkers. Maybe even that name would frustrate some of you. But like I said, we're all one and we all have a message to share. And I've been listening to everyone else's. I've been listening and seeing people share their gift and just hoping that I'll find the pathway, the medium, the outlet to be able to share mine. And that I wouldn't do something destructive first. It's one thing to feel like you have to battle the outside world every day. and that everywhere you go, people are going to look at you as if you are a potential threat. And it's one thing to have that battle on the outside, and it's another thing entirely to also fight a battle on the inside. A battle against yourself, a battle against self-sabotage, a battle against depression and your will caving in, a battle against being sucked into foolish competition, a battle against trying to elevate at the expense of others. It sounds all righteous and all of that shit, but it's not really to me. I see a light in everyone. I see beauty in everyone. I really do. It's honestly hard not to. Every one of us is so complex, and I understand now how a simple misunderstanding can unfold into so much. I understand now how people's fear of direct communication can lead to disastrous consequences. I won't put anyone in my day-to-day life in the uncomfortable position of having to have a direct conversation to straighten out any potential misinterpretations of anything that I've done. Instead, I'll be true to you. And hopefully the truth that I share here in this channel gives something to you, helps in some way, big or small. Like I said, I just wanted to find an outlet, a way that I could be seen, be heard, maybe be loved, and not have to worry about putting up a front. If you can believe it, coming from a stranger on a camera on the other side of the phone, somewhere in this world, who you may never actually meet face to face. If you can believe it, because I want it to be true, wherever you are. I do love you. If you're in a position like me, I love you especially. If you deal with thoughts of, and if you've had and taken actions to hurt yourself in the past, if you've dealt with self-sabotage, if you know where I'm coming from, I just want you to know that I see you and I love you. And you'll find it. Whatever that thing is that you're looking for, whatever connection it is that you need, whatever synchronicity needs to fall in place for you, I promise you, it'll be there for you. And if you're watching this video and I'm still around for you to share with me, then you go ahead and you share with me. And if I'm not in this plane for you to share with me, then what I want you to know is that I was here. I loved you. And if I'm not here, I love you still. No matter what happens with all of you, I know we came from somewhere and we're going to somewhere. I would say this is the spark, but this doesn't feel like it. So I'm not going to say something that doesn't feel true. Today, I'm not the spark. The spark is you.